There have been accusations of police brutality in Delhi, with reports of more than 100 youth protesters injured in anti-government demonstrations. The Cockroach Janata Party movement has garnered support from millions of Gen Zs in India who are calling for the resignation of the country's education minister over an exam leak scandal. Well, let's speak to Vijaita Singh, deputy editor with The Hindu, who joins us now from New Delhi. Vijaita, the protests yesterday were significant and tense. What did you observe?
Yeah, thank you so much. For the past 2 days before the protests were held yesterday, young people, young professionals, they had been pouring in at Jantar Mantar, which is a designated site for protests in New Delhi, and it is extremely close to the Parliament of India. So this online youth party called the Cockroach Janata Party, which was formed in May, started on Instagram. They had given a call for a march to the Parliament to demand a resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan over the leak of an examination paper here. And prior to this, on July 18th, activist Sonam Wangchuk, who is a prominent figure from Ladakh, he had been fasting he had been on a hunger strike for 18 days almost, and he was forcibly taken away by the police. So after he was taken away by the police, the members of CJP, they asked people to come to Jantar Mantar and take this. And since they had already announced this march to the Parliament, so following that, thousands of people they reached Jantar Mantar, and since 9 a.m., the time of the march was 9 a.m., but since it did not start, the crowd became restless, and some of them started moving towards the Parliament building, which is about 2 kilometers from the protest site. And in the melee, some police barricades were broken, and people had almost reached the doorsteps of Parliament when they were stopped by the police, who used tear gas shells and batons, attacked people, and that is how they were contained. Yeah, this is what has happened.
And what has been the public reaction to how the protesters were handled by police?
So there has been a lot of, obviously, anger among ordinary citizens, because these were not members of any political party. These were students, mostly students and young professionals who had, some of them had fought with their families and came to the protest site. So after and mind you, there was an internet shutdown in the area. So the videos and the other footage and the other photos that were circulated, there was a delay in them getting out. And when all the images and footages were finally released, and there were horror stories by protesters who claimed that they were beaten up by the police unprovoked, even if they were standing at a location. So this has all happened, and it created like massive anger, I mean, among the ordinary people.
And are protests continuing today, or will they continue in coming days?
Yes, the police had dismantled the dais where the protesters were sitting, and but soon after, the protesters led by Abhijit Dipke, the CJP founder, they reclaimed the dais, and around 1,000 people are still there at the protest site, and they continue to demand the education minister's resignation.
Are protesters hopeful their demands will be met, particularly Cockroach Janata Party founder Abhijit Dipke, who had been part of that hunger strike?
So this movement, this fast and this protest had been going on for a month, but it only gained momentum after Sonam Wangchuk was picked up by the police. In this past month, there was no outreach by the government. But day before yesterday, when there were reports coming in that lots of people are joining the protest site and they are teaming in, government made the first outreach to CJP people, and they offered talks with a district magistrate level officer who is an IS rank officer, who is an Indian Administrative Service officer, and he's the head of a district. but the suggestion was rejected by the CJP people, who demanded that somebody senior speak to them. And finally, on July 20th morning, after a lot of negotiations, Health Minister JP Natta, he was deputed to meet the CJP people. So obviously, government, on seeing the scale of protest, they opened a channel of communication with the CJP members, but clearly this was they received the memorandum, they received their demands, but there has been no further communication from the government side to CJP regarding this. And as the Hindu also reported yesterday, the mob after a point the crowd after a point had become leaderless, and the people were just, it was a well-behaved lot. The people who were like well-behaved, they were taking care of each other, even if the tear gas smokes were fired, they were protecting each other. So beyond a time, they were not listening to any leader as such, but yet the government opened channels of communication. But since then, there has been no movement on this, so no further movement on this.
And just finally, how has the CJP grown since it was founded? Just in May, just 2 months ago, who are its supporters? And are these latest protests an indication of bigger rallies to come and a movement that could really rattle the government?
Not first time that you may say that the composition of people is different this time for the mass protest, but we saw such protests in 2020, in 2019-20, after the CAA act was passed here, and before that, and after that, the farmers' protest, which was far bigger, and they had sat on protest for almost a year on the outskirts of Delhi. The only difference here is that these people, they could reach very close to the parliament, and it was reminiscent of the 2012 mass protest, which happened after a woman was gang raped in Delhi. So that anger had come out on the streets. So I would not say that this is the first time but yes, this is one of the first Gen Z protests for a place for Delhi, because these people had been, as I said, this party was formed in May, and though it had like a lot of online traction, not many people were physically joining their protest at Jantar Mantar. But after Sonam Wangchuk was removed from the protest side, I think it hit a raw nerve. It hit a chord with people. They emotionally felt compelled. And so this is a culmination of a lot of grievances also, because there were not only students who had taken the examination which was leaked, but there were others also that whenever we give a paper, the people had come from other parts of the country. They had, as I said earlier, they had arguments with their family, yet they came. So this obviously touched people somewhere or the other, many people.
Indeed. Vijaita Singh, it's really good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.